Hello everybody, welcome to All Sports Weekly episode 13. I am Trevor and with me this week I have Aaron.
G'day mate, how we doing?
Back again.
Back again. We are the pride of Brisbane Town.
That'll do us for this week. It was nice, thanks for watching. Yes, we will talk about your Fitzroy beating my team. We will get to that. Everybody, we're back after a bit of a hiatus. We were good to go for this episode just as the lockdown happened. I had a high-profile guest lined up, big money deal. Fortunately, that fell through with lockdown, and then I've been away for Easter and so forth. So this is the first All Sports Weekly in 25 days. So the best part of 3 to 4 weeks.
How did we survive, mate? How did we survive?
Should I change the name to All Sports
occasionally?
Not every week. I'm having some issues there, but no, I'm only joking. But welcome back to everybody. Hope you've missed us terribly. I mean, the phone's been ringing hot, mate. Where are you?
Yeah, I bet.
Maybe in a madhouse.
YouTube numbers have gone down.
It's plummeted, yeah. So anyway, what we're going to do today with the first one being in a few weeks, we're just going to talk about what's changed in a few weeks. A review of the last few weeks. How have things been going? What's better? What's worse? That kind of thing. Just remember, guys, we're on YouTube, obviously. You can also watch us, listen to us, I should say, on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com. If you'd rather just listen and not watch, you can message me, leave a comment down below about anything we're talking about today, and also you can email me directly on allsportsweekly@outlook.com. So, mate, I normally say, what have you been watching this week? What have you been watching in the last few weeks?
Oh, mate, a bit of everything. Certainly the AFL yesterday was good to see. Lions had a very good day with the AFLW Premiership. That was
they did.
Finally, third time lucky.
Yep.
So, yeah, good to see and keeping a close eye on the NBA.
So you watched the WAFL?
I didn't catch it, no, but I've been following it quite closely given the Lions were doing quite well, so...
Okay, cool. We had Kyle on here last show. He's a big Lions man and also supports the WAFL.
Yep.
I have no interest really in it, to be honest, but I do remember the first season where the Lions kind of got dudded out of being at home against Adelaide. These two teams seem to be the best two teams. And they had to play at Metricon because of the Adele concert, I remember, which I did attend, and it was excellent. But it chopped the field up, apparently, and it was a whole thing. Yeah. So I think it's a bit of a karma that the Lions got that win.
Finally.
Know? So, yeah.
And they had a really tough run at it too, away from home for most part because of all the lockdowns and that sort of thing. So,
yeah. So that was good. And obviously last year the WAFL didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
38-20. What a classic, huh?
Come on now. Come on.
What a classic.
Yeah.
I think the NRL is higher scoring than that, mate.
At the moment.
Okay. Well, I've been watching a bit of everything. So we'll go through it as we go. But we'll start with the NRL. Now, going back a few weeks, if you can remember, guys, round 3, shocking weekend of injuries. I've never seen anything like it. It was like Schindler's List. They were just lying all over the floor. 20 players injured.
Yep.
And 9 of them were in the HIA. Straight away, I mean, everyone's just thinking, God, what is going on? You had, was it Cronulla who actually had no one on the bench?
Correct.
Canberra had some friendly fire, 2 players knocked out. You had bare bones.
Yep.
HIA, all the talk. Did you see that round, and what did you think about all that?
Yeah, look, it was pretty crazy. I just think it's a bit of a perfect storm. I think...
Was it just bad luck?
Oh, I don't think you can tell. I don't think you can tell whether it's bad luck or what it is. I know that the NRL are trying to do a few little things to try and cope with that sort of scenario, but I think it's just a perfect storm. It's a combination of the players technically probably not as sound with their tackling, particularly given the fatigue.
And they're fatigued, yeah. And obviously, what we're taking off players for things that never would have been taken off before.
Absolutely, the focus on HIA.
Yeah. So this has prompted the league to change a rule and bring in an 18th man. The criteria being to use the 18th man, you have to have had 3 HIAs in one game, which is very rare, and thankfully. But the key one, I think, is if there's foul play that leads to a player being concussed, and that player gets sin-binned or sent, they have a criteria there to use that 18th man. To not be, down a player due to foul play. I think that's a good rule.
Yeah,
Do you?
I don't know. I think they have to be very clever to come up with something that can't be loopholed by the coaches.
And that's hard.
That is hard.
It would be pretty grim if, with concussion and player welfare though, if the coaches used that to game the system, then they'd pretty much game anything, because that'd be pretty grim.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look,
but they'll probably will.
They probably will, and
Yeah.
look, I don't think it's because they're taking advantage of players getting hurt. I think it's more of such and such copped a little bit of a knock in the 60th minute.
Yeah.
He's off for the rest of the game, so let's try and get this fresh 18.
But the player has to be sin binned or sent. So that's the thing. So that is the thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, it could lead to some diving. I agree with that. And getting back to, if you go back to a few weeks, now the last podcast we did was when Felice Kafusi elbowed Ryan Madison in the head there. Now I had a bit to say. I thought it was intentional. I reckon he meant to get him, and he did. I thought as soon as he did it, he looked at the touchy and gave himself away. I received a comment from a friend of the show, Grant Archibald. His comment of this time was, I reckon your comments are a bit harsh on Felice Kafusi and the ref Matt Checken. Unless the NRL introduce a clear black and white ruling for send-offs, referees will be damned if they do, damned if they don't. As for the tackle, it was contact with the ground, which was mainly responsible for the concussion. Elbow didn't look good though. And Grant thinks that I'm a bit more emotional about this due to my Parramatta heart. Gonna have to respectfully. Well, I mean, there's a half truth there, but no, respectfully, I have to disagree. Yeah, the ground, the collision with the ground caused the concussion. His elbow was on his front of his head, pushing him into the ground. Just a heads up there, Grant. Felice Kafusi got 2 weeks for that. Ryan Madison has not played since. He has now missed 3 or 4 games. I'm hearing from Parramatta he might not play again till about round 8. So to argue that 2 weeks is harsh, and then you got a guy who's going to miss 6 weeks. Thoughts?
I think the NRL need to, they're acting serious about concussion and head knocks, but I think their actions don't relay that necessarily. I think that if you really want to wipe this stuff away from the game, you have to give big penalties, right? So I think 2 weeks is I thought
it was very lean for what he did.
Particularly the bigger teams, they're in the habit of resting players anyway. So this is just an enforced rest, right? That's all that they would look at it as to a certain extent. So I think those sorts of things, it was bad.
Ryan Madison might not ever be the same player again. I know that seems dramatic, but it's true. Jake Friend just had to retire, early. Boyd Cordner isn't going to play till mid-year, and he's the captain. I think
where a lot of the panellists with the rugby league get wrong is that they look at more the outcome rather than the actual action.
I'm not a big fan of that.
No.
I understand it's part of it. The AFL are big on that. If you bump someone legally but they still get hurt, you seem to be in trouble. I don't like that.
So I think they need to focus more on the action. I see in the games someone gets a little bit of a head knock, say, oh, that's not that bad, but any head knock's a bad head knock, right?
It's a culmination, isn't it, to your career.
So I think they just really need to, if they really want to wipe this crap from the game, they have to really come down hard. And 2 weeks is historically, sure, 2 weeks is probably right for this kind of thing. But if they really want to take that extra step, that's an 8-week thing, because they'll quickly get it out of the game.
If you're watching this and you have an opinion either way with the Kafusi thing and just those penalties in general, leave a comment. Does Grant have it right where I'm being a bit dramatic, or was 2 weeks a bit lean? I'll leave it up to you guys. Okay, just moving along, mate. St George Illawarra. They're a lot better than everyone thinks they were going to be.
Are you surprised?
I was surprised come last Sunday at about 6 p.m. when they gave it to us.
Yeah.
I am surprised, I know that Anthony Griffin's a quality coach, but you do have to remember that their list, Corey Norman, he's decided to play football for the first time in a few years.
Contract must be up.
It is. It is up. Ben Hunt played with a broken leg for 70 minutes.
Yeah, that's tough.
And they've just got Josh Maguire from the Cowboys, who I predict will come in and make a pretty big impact there.
Yeah.
They're looking good.
They are looking good. If I cast my memory back, I think I had St. George as my wooden spooner.
I think you did. I wasn't going to say it, but thanks for saying it.
So I think
I had them down that way, but I didn't have them that bad. But no, it's only round 5, round 6. I understand that.
Look, but if you know, if you remember, even under Paul McGregor, that they had a couple of rough years, but there were times where the pattern was St. George would come out running. Like there was a time there where they were top of the table and burn out.
That might happen.
That could still happen. Anthony Griffin, we all know he's a good coach. I think what's benefited the situation is that the key men running the team have all worked under Anthony Griffin before.
Yeah.
So there's kind of this
like
knowledge. This kind
Hans.
of Norman.
Yeah, he copped a lot of flack too. McGuinness was there, and Griffin copped a bit of flack.
He did.
Not hearing him much flack at the moment, mate.
No. But I mean, look, their start could be attributed to that. I think the proof will be in the pudding. Come round 15, come round 20. Like where are they at? Have they fallen off?
But if they make the 8,
I think that's
it's a good year when you consider where the bar was.
Absolutely.
And I mean, they're looking,
and they're beating some of the premiership favourites, right?
Yeah.
At the moment, so
and they certainly gave Parramatta a bit of what for.
Yeah.
Okay. And Penrith just roll on undefeated. Now I thought they were really lucky to beat Melbourne. If you remember that game,
Yeah.
I thought they were really lucky there. But having said that, they're undefeated. Their defence is rock solid. Had a hard time with the Broncos, but got over the line. Maybe took them a bit lightly. Broncos played definitely better.
Potentially.
Are they just a moral lay-down misère for the minor premiership? Is anyone going to beat them in the regular season on the table?
Look, it's hard. It's always hard to say, right? Premierships, the season's a long season.
Yep.
They get key injuries in key places. Mind you, they've already had that with Appy out and Edwards.
They got the likes of Burton, who's waiting in the wings now, playing centre.
Yep.
Most teams would have him as the starting 5'8".
They've got great depth, and that's gonna hold them true. Look, I think yes, at the moment it's hard to say.
They're rolling on, aren't they?
They are rolling.
Haven't lost a game at home in nearly 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at last year and this year, they've only lost 2 games.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
Yeah, no, they're looking really good. And with that regards to that round 3 injury fest and so forth, can the Roosters cover those injuries? That's what I'm wondering. They've had key injuries, so.
Yeah, look, my opinion is that they'll still be top 4. Like that's like a Penrith team, right? They have those injuries drop off. They'll still week to week.
They'll
beat 80% of the
top 4 though.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll hold. They've got Boyd Cordner coming back. Yeah.
He's one big hit away from retirement.
That's true. Yeah. You don't think so?
Top 8 for sure.
Yeah.
Top 6.
Okay.
Top 6.
All right. I just wonder, particularly with Canberra losing the 2 games that they've had the last 2 weeks, who replaces them in the top 4?
St George.
All right, fair enough.
And just quickly, John Morris, we predicted first, before the season started, he would be the first coach sacked, and so he has been. That guy never had a chance.
No.
He never had a chance. They had it in their head they were going to sack him no matter what. I really feel for that guy. Is Craig Fitzgibbon, now he's never coached a game, but by all reports everyone's frothing over him, he's going to be this great coach. So John Morris, to his credit, he's been undermined, he's been sacked, it comes out, leaks out in the paper that Fitzgibbon's going to coach next year. John Morris, to his credit, still says, well, I'll still coach this year. They say, no, get out of here. Go. They won't even let him see out his year.
You just don't know what those conversations are like, though. Like, I hear you. There's always 2 sides to the story. Yeah, look,
it's harsh.
Nonetheless, a rough way to go.
2 seasons with an average squad, made the finals both years.
Yeah,
he says $700,000 under the cap to play with.
Yeah, no doubt, and he's a good coach.
And they should have beaten the Roosters last week.
Yep,
sacked, cold, just gone.
Yeah. Look, it is cold. It's a ruthless business.
It's really ruthless. I really feel for John Morris, and whether you think Craig Fitzgibbon's a better coach, he probably might be, but. The way that he was treated, that's a club legend, anyway.
Yeah. Oh, look.
Tough.
Very tough. And if it was a Craig Bellamy coming in or a Wayne Bennett, that might...
You go for a guy that's never coached a first grade game.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we're moving on to football now. Viewers from last time will remember that I was going to do a bit of All Sports Weekly field research and go out to the Raw, which was my first game going to be at the Redcliffe Stadium. Now, that game was postponed. When it was wet weather, which it was, Redcliffe played a rugby league game on that field, the field was deemed to be unacceptable for use after that. Now, Redcliffe are entitled to use it, it's their field, but this is the classic conundrum of the A-League. They haven't got the money to have their own stadium, which is what a football game needs to have a football pitch with, high quality. They've had to play at Suncorp where they're sharing it with the Broncos and the Reds and so forth. Now they've got this Redcliffe situation. Everyone seems to like it, except for when it rains and the league team play, you can't play on it.
Yeah.
It was pretty grim. We found out the day before the game's cancelled, and now I'm still trying to get money back and all this stuff. I mean, what do you think about that, mate?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a bit of a damned if you do and damned if you don't. It just comes at the cost, right? And we are
wouldn't happen at Suncorp though, would it? The field has never really been unplayable.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You wouldn't say unplayable, but there's been times where it's kind of like, that's not a good soccer pitch.
No, I can agree with that.
So, but look, the trade-off is that playing at Redcliffe is so much cheaper for them than playing at
if they can play there.
If they can play there, yeah, but I don't know.
What are they going to do when it rains through the year and Redcliffe play there?
Hope that their game is before the Redcliffe game. That's what they'll have to do.
Good luck. Anyway, so it's a bit of a downer. So I'm still yet to get out to my maiden A-League game this year. I'm trying, team. I'm giving it all I got. But, I've got... And that's another place I got credit with, mate. Yeah.
I read in the paper you're not trying hard enough.
You really?
Yeah.
And just quickly on football, we won't talk about A-League too much, but the Champions League quarterfinals, I guess, was the big news this week. Aggregate scores, both legs are finished. Chelsea have got the better of Porto 2-1. Good, going well for Chelsea there. Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich with 3-3, and Munich on away goals.
I think you'll find it was
sorry,
on away goals, yeah.
Paris on away goals, excuse me. Borussia Dortmund fell short to Man City 2-4, and Man City roll on. And then you've got Liverpool who've come up short 1-3 versus Real Madrid. Had their chances, couldn't do it, and that's the end of Liverpool, who look like they're no chance of winning any cups this year. At this point, Liverpool just need to make the top four. That's where they're at now.
Yeah, which is a big stretch at the moment.
Yeah, it's tight.
Yeah.
So the semi-finals for Champions League has been drawn. Real Madrid's going to play Chelsea. That's going to be a blockbuster. And Paris Saint-Germain's going to play Man City. So there's a possibility of an all-English final. I personally feel like Chelsea, as good as they're going, are going to struggle against Madrid. But
that'd be a shock.
That would be a shock. And Paris Saint-Germain, don't write them off. They're an underachiever. Yeah. They're an underrated team, I guess. Very dangerous.
At this level, I think. Yeah.
Very dangerous, and Man City are going to have their hands full there. So, and just quickly before we move on, FA Cup semi-finals are on this weekend. One was played just through the night there, where Chelsea have beaten Manchester City 1-0. So Chelsea, for a year, they haven't done so great. The ladder position's been poor. They've sacked Frank Lampard and so forth. Find themselves in a FA Cup final and a Champions League semi-final, going pretty well. And Leicester City are going to play Southampton tomorrow or tonight, our time. So watch this space.
Yeah.
Moving on. Oh, something to say?
I was just going to say, Chelsea doing so well in the cups and not so much the league. It's actually interesting to see how difficult it is to be so successful across the competitions.
That's why the things like the treble and that are so so hard.
Yep.
You're fighting a war on multiple fronts. Okay, moving along to rugby just quickly. So in the last few weeks, the penny has dropped, and that is a little pun there, Aaron. You like that one?
Yeah.
Rob Penny for the Waratahs was sacked a couple of weeks ago following a 14-46 loss to the Reds. Waratahs, under Rob Penny, had played 5, no wins, 5 losses. They had scored 61 points with 201 points against. It only scored 6 tries with 26 against. Sacked him. Now, results poor, sacked him. Waratahs like to think they're a pretty strong power. If they thought that old Rob was going to go quietly, they were wrong. Had a fair bit to say. Not a very rugby thing. Normally there's this sort of like close the ranks, protect the brand.
Yep.
He had a fair bit to say. He was saying that he was $1 million under the cap. He was assured when he took the job he was going to be quite well resourced. Wasn't well resourced, throwing a few grenades, talking about the board, talking about Raylene Castle and all that. Had a lot to say. couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of you know what's.
Yeah. Sure.
Any thoughts there, mate?
Oh, look, I haven't.
You haven't been into it.
I haven't been watching closely, but
yeah,
you gotta love a good dummy spit.
you gotta love it. And the Waratahs are poor, bottom line, and they have lost a game since then. I think they're playing. I might have played last night. Anyway, I haven't been up to it. But forget about the Waratahs. The big news is the Reds. Now the Reds have topped the Super Rugby Australia with a couple of games to go. The grand final will definitely be here in Brisbane on the 8th of May. Their opponent to be announced. It's going to be a big game. They're talking about a packed house at Suncorp. Probably be the Brumbies, we're not sure. Rugby, they got 22,000 at the last game. Pretty good crowd. There was only 23 at the Lions last night, so that's a good crowd.
Yep.
Is rugby on the rise, mate?
No.
Didn't think so.
No, but look, I will say...
we're already playing ourselves, but that's all right.
Yeah, while I haven't watched any either, there's been a lot of close games, particularly between the top tier teams. It'll be interesting once the New Zealand and Australian teams start playing to each other. We get a good gauge of where they're at.
Yeah, I think it's a good format. We're playing ourselves, and people seem to like it. People are interested. The games are close.
Yeah.
Playing the Crusaders every week doesn't help us.
No. What's our thoughts on Brad Thorne? Like, is he...
I like him.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's a winner.
Yep.
Yeah, tough. You know, he's done everything. The players like him.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he's
really turned the Reds around.
Yeah, if the Reds can have a big grand final win, this is a big if, and then I'll give them a half a chance to go and trouble a couple of New Zealand teams, whether they win, but I don't think there's as big a difference.
Sure.
Maybe I could be wrong. New Zealand people watching this will be like...
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to move along quickly. Now we're going to talk about boxing for a second, Australian boxing in particular. Now, in the last few weeks, so I've got two things to talk about. Firstly, I watched the Tim Tszyu Dennis Hogan fight, and I've got to say I was pretty impressed with Tim Tszyu. Dennis Hogan, no mug, right? He's a journeyman, only ever been knocked out once before, and that was by Jamal Charlo, who's a weapon. He's not a chump. He just never looked in it. Tszyu just cut the ring off, just pressure. The uppercut he got him with to stop it in the end was wicked. I mean, Hogan hardly got a finger on him. Pretty good. Tszyu is better than I thought he was. On that, he looks like he's capable to... He'll probably fight Zarafa here too. They're the two last Australians sort of big fish to fight.
Yep.
And the winner of that then goes on and gets a big fight overseas, I presume. Did you catch any of that or anything, mate?
No, just monitoring Tim Tszyu's progress.
Yeah, he's all right. He's not bad.
No,
yeah. I'm not saying he's amazing, but I'm saying he's not a joke.
I think that there's an education he's going through, and with every fight, he seems to be getting better, adding more tools to his kit. So
he made. I think Hogan should just retire at this point. I think he's been made to look very old and slow on that one, and I think nothing to prove. He had a great career. Now, my angry rant here is this Australian heavyweight situation. Now, I caught myself on Foxtel the other night, and it was on Foxtel, Justice Hooney and Jack Maris. Now, Justice Hooney, right? Let me set the scene for you.
Set it.
In his first professional fight ever, he won the title. The Australian heavyweight title. In his first fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? He beat Django. You can get a title shot in your first ever fight based on your reputation and probably a bit of gangster money. I was looking at the people sitting around. It was at the Gold Coast. Looks like organised crime 101, mate. Right. The guy he fought, this Justice Hooney, Jack Maris, they called him the Hammer. He'd fought 2 fights against probably forklift drivers. He was from down in Sydney. The fight starts, this Jack Maris, he was swinging like... You know, in like high school, in like grade 8 when
handbags
when
at 10
like
paces,
the nerd gets picked on and he starts doing these.
Yeah,
that was
straight
it, mate. I mean, and so Hooney hits him about 3 times in the stomach, but really nothing, and the ref stops the fight. It stops the fight, mate. Yeah, unbelievable. And then they're trying. Hooney could hardly string 2 words together. Oh God, it's bad. They can. The Australian heavyweight division. I don't want a bar of it. Good luck to Justice Hooney. It's you can't support it. It's a joke.
But boxing has taken in the last, particularly even since UFC's kind of taken over as the most popular martial arts sport.
I don't know.
But even before.
But that doesn't help anyone.
No.
And there's no one for him to fight.
But it's getting closer and closer to WWF, right? Just
a little bit
because the big fights, outside of like legitimate contenders, particularly in that middleweight
Well, the
zone.
Tim Zoo thing,
Zoo,
that's a fight.
That's a fight. But, the biggest one is Paul Gallen against this.
No,
this
I don't know if that's the biggest one. I don't think so.
Well, it's the one that's most publicised. It's the one that's, outside of the boxing community.
But I couldn't care less about Paul Gallen. And just quickly, Canelo will be fighting Saunders on the 8th of May here. Cinco de Mayo time. Feather-fisted Saunders, as described by Luke, friend of the show. Canelo's going to absolutely murder him and probably get 20 million for doing it.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. In Texas, going to be a big crowd, big fight. I feel like Saunders is going to get absolutely whipped. Moving along just quickly, Sheffield Shield at the moment. There's just started play as we're going to air here, so we'll just talk about day 1, 2, 3. Queensland have got New South Wales by the short and curlies, mate. New South Wales won the toss and batted, got 143.
Yep.
Nessa and Wildermuth got 9 wickets between them, just cleaned them up. Their top scorer was on 43. We come into bat. There's this fella, Labuschagne, mate. Loose bus change. He got 192. He got more than their whole team.
Yeah.
Well, he did too, because the next highest scorer for us was under 50. It was it.
Yeah.
But he has single-handedly got that game for us. New South Wales are now batting. They're fifer. Probably the game will finish today. By the time you see this, it might be over. They're 5 wickets down. They're still 106 behind. Labuschagne's just come out on the big game.
Might not bat again,
boom.
yeah. Look, going into the final, from a batting perspective, New South Wales didn't have a huge amount of performances. We had a number of century makers in the team leading up through the whole Sheffield.
And they're missing some players, but
they are.
We've got a pretty full squad. We've got Kawaja and we've got obviously Labuschagne and Joe Burns and but. Yeah, it looks like the Shield's coming home. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, very nice.
I was hoping to get out there yesterday and do some All Sports Weekly field research, but work and stuff on the night before, and I didn't have it in me, so I didn't get to it, which was a shame. And now we'll talk about what I did get to see, which is the AFL. So last night, did some research, went out there, watched my beloved Bombers. They didn't show up. Now, just about half an hour before the game, just poured with rain. So the field was waterlogged. You would have swore Essendon have never played a wet game in their life. They couldn't catch a cold, right? Yeah. Like they couldn't kick, they couldn't catch, they couldn't they were bad. The game was over at half time. Lions mothered us. It was bad.
What was it? Is it they don't know how to play that way? They only know how to play one way. They don't have a plan B, or
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming coming from Victoria, they've played in the rain a fair bit. We have this sort of running style where we run in packs with little disposals, and that was all negated. Brisbane with their sort of forward presence, some actual forward targets, taking some marks. They just played better. The contested ball. They're all over us. It was a pretty grim night to be a Bombers fan. Yeah. The Bombers only won one game.
Yeah.
But they've lost a game by, I think, 2 points and 1 point. And they impressed me to some extent last night. No.
Return to form for the Bombers.
Well, we've got Anzac Day next week, and Collingwood aren't exactly setting the world on fire, so that's going to be the one.
Yeah.
We were sort of getting short on time, but we watched Port and Richmond last weekend. That was a game. Yeah. Did you happen to catch that?
No, I didn't, but they're two good teams.
The standard in that, I was like, this could be the grand final.
Yeah.
I really that was impressive. Port got the chocolates right at the death.
Yeah.
Hell of a game, that one. One of those ones you just the winner was football.
Yeah. Sure.
And I just feel like my prior prediction of Geelong being the team to beat, their style, the new rules, and Geelong seemed to be
dropped down,
left behind a bit there. That Dow tactical defensive flood doesn't seem to be working as well.
No, and an older list as well.
List. GWS coming back, beat Collingwood, now beat Sydney last night. Season's coming back.
That's a big win against Sydney, given the form Sydney have been in. Yeah. So I think it's interesting now for a long period of time with the AFL. It's always been who's going to go win. Who's going to win every round.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No, it's a bit of a coin toss.
The rise of Melbourne, as I predicted.
Yep.
And the rise of the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Yeah. So very interesting. We'll see how long that lasts, and who comes out at the end of it. But
And just quickly, where are your Lions at? Are you happy?
Yeah, look, they've only had a couple of wins now, but the losses that we've had have been against, the Sydney one was a bit of a shock, but we now know Sydney are probably a better team than we expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty happy.
Okay, mate. All right, awesome. Well, I'd like to keep going, but that is all we have time for today. Obviously, we've tried to fit a few weeks into one. I promise that we'll be back in a week's time with more Sports Weekly. Thanks for watching, and thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you. Anytime.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.